Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm Suresh and my teammates Simran and Beru together will be representing the People Analytics team at Australian Outdoors. Over the past several weeks, we've been deep in the data analyzing employee survey responses, productivity records, customer complaint logs, customer satisfaction scores, all to answer one central question: what is happening with our people and how is it affecting our business? Australian Outdoors has built an incredible brand with over 15,000 employees and with a strong reputation in outdoor retail space, and also a loyal customer base that genuinely believes in what we have to offer. But right now, something is shifting beneath the surface. Productivity is declining, employee engagement is dropping, customer complaints are rising. These are not isolated problems, they are connected, and they all trace back to people. That is precisely why People Analytics team was commissioned to go beyond the gut feeling and surface level observation and instead use real data and real employee voices to uncover what actually is driving these challenges, and more importantly, what Australian Outdoors can do about it. So our goal is straightforward: to give the leadership team evidence they need to make informed, confident decisions. The executive summary gives you the full story in one view. The purpose of this analysis was to identify the people related factors driving five interconnected problems at Australian Outdoors, that is, declining productivity, lower employee engagement, increasing customer complaints, falling customer satisfaction, and a growing intention among employees to leave the organization. To investigate these issues, we used a mixed method approach. On the quantitative side, we ran descriptive statistics, correlation analysis, and trend analysis across employee survey data, productivity scores, and customer outcome data. On the qualitative side, we conducted a thematic analysis of open ended employee comments from 2023's voice survey. Using both types of data together, gave us a richer, more reliable picture than numbers alone ever could. Now, what did we find? Four findings came through clearly and consistently across all our analysis. First, perceived stress is the strongest driver of intention to leave. Employees who are experiencing higher stress are more likely to leave the organization. Job satisfaction is the strongest driver of productivity. There is a strong statistical relationship between how an employee feels in his role and how productive he is, which is one of the clearest signals in the entire data sheet. Third, satisfaction with managers strongly influences both engagement and retention. How employees feel about their direct manager has a measurable impact on how they are engaged at work. Uh, Fourth, employee experience is spilling over customer experience. That is, data shows a clear link between what is happening internally with our people and what the customers are experiencing. So, based on our findings, we are recommending four targeted actions: reducing employee stress and workload, strengthening leadership capability, enhancing career development opportunities, and improving how customer complaints are managed. If these are addressed, we predict a meaningful improvement in engagement and retention, productivity, customer experience, and ultimately business performance and profitability. The 2023 Employee Voice Survey captured attitudinal data from all 300 employees across the organization, covering variables like job satisfaction, perceived stress, work life balance, manager support, and intention to leave. The second was performance data, both self reported and manager rated, giving us a well rounded view of the actual output. Third, we used customer complaints records, and fourth, the customer satisfaction scores. We had 300 employees in the data set with a 100% survey response rate, which is exceptional. That means our findings are based on the complete picture and not a sample. The data covers the full 2023 calendar year and spans four departments: outdoor gear, apparel and footwear, accessories and essentials, and seasonal and clearance. In total, 897 customer complaints were recorded across the year, and we had 20 customer satisfaction records. Now, the variables we examined fall into two categories. On the left, the independent or explanatory variables. These are the potential drivers, things like job satisfaction, work life balance, workload, perceived stress, and manager support. On the right, the dependent or outcome variables. These are the things we are trying to explain and improve: productivity, intention to leave, customer complaints, and customer satisfaction. One important methodological note: we didn't just look at numbers, we triangulated our quantitative findings with qualitative employee voice data, actual comments from the survey, which helped us understand not just what is happening but why. With this context in place, let's move to the actual findings. Our first analytical finding, and one of the most important ones in this entire presentation, is the relationship between job satisfaction and productivity. What you're looking at on the scatter plot is 300 data points, one for each employee. The horizontal axis shows their job satisfaction score, and the vertical axis shows their productivity score. That dashed green line running through the middle is the trend line. The upward slope of that line tells the story clearly. As job satisfaction increases, productivity increases with it. And the correlation coefficient here is R is equal to 0.71, which is a strong positive relationship. It is statistically significant at P less than 0.001, meaning there is less than a 1 in a thousand chance this pattern occurred by chance. So what does that mean? What does job satisfaction actually mean in this context? It captures how employees feel about their role overall, their sense of recognition, reward, role clarity, autonomy, and whether they feel their work is meaningful. Though when those things are in place, employees show up motivated, more focused, more committed to doing good work. This is well supported in the research. The judge and colleagues, in their widely cited 2001 meta-analysis, confirmed that job satisfaction is a reliable predictor of job performance. What makes our finding notable is how strong the relationship is. R is equal to 0.71 is above what many studies typically report, and it reflects a workforce where satisfaction levels are genuinely driving the output differences. Now, the practical implication for Australian Outdoor is clear. If the leadership wants to move the needle on productivity, this is where to start. Investing in the conditions that make employees feel valued, recognized, and supported in their roles is not a nice to have, but essential. Based on this data, it is one of the most direct pathways to improving organizational performance. Our second finding builds on the first. While job satisfaction is the strongest single driver of productivity, work life balance is also a close second. And this one has a very human dimension to it that I think is worth spending a moment on. Again, looking at the scatter plot, same structure as before: work life balance score on the horizontal axis and productivity on the vertical. And again, we see a clear upward trend with correlation of R is equal to 0.63, a strong statistical positive relationship. Employees who feel they have a reasonable balance between their work demands and personal life are consistently more productive than those who feel that balance is out of alignment. Now, why would that be? The research points to a few mechanisms. When people are overworked or constantly on, they experience higher levels of fatigue and stress, which degrades their cognitive function, their decision making, and their output quality over time. Conversely, employees who feel balanced have more energy, more resilience, and are better able to sustain high performance day after day. And this isn't just theory. Our employees just have told us directly. One employee wrote, "I've been feeling frustrated with the lack of work-life balance. The expectation is to be constantly available and responsive outside regular hours has taken a toll on my mental and physical health." Another simply said, "We need work-life balance." These comments came up repeatedly in qualitative data, and this is not one person's frustration, it's a pattern. The implication is straightforward. When Australian Outdoor places unreasonable demands on employees' time, particularly outside of working hours, it is not just affecting their well being, it is directly undermining the productivity the business depends on. Addressing workload distribution and introducing meaningful flexibility isn't a cost, it is an investment with measurable return. So far, we've looked at what drives productivity upwards. Now, I'd like to hand it over to Simran, who will take us through the side of the picture, specifically what is driving people out of the organization and how that is connecting customer outcomes. Over to you, Simran.
Thank you so much, Suresh. That was a really thorough breakdown of job satisfaction and work-life balance. Building on those very findings, I will now be taking you through the next layer of our analysis, covering stress, burnout, leadership, customer complaints, and what we predict will happen in our future to our key stakeholders if these issues go unaddressed. Now, as you can see on slide number 6, one of the most striking findings from our data is the relationship between perceived stress and intention to leave. A scatter plot shows a very strong positive correlation of R equals 0.76, which is statistically very significant at p less than 0.001, which also tells us something that is very clear. The more stressed an employee is, the more likely they are to be thinking about walking out of the door. Now, this has been timely proved by a lot of literature reviews, and it also explains that it is not a small number of people that we are currently talking about. 68% of the employees who reported high stress levels also indicated a very high intention to leave. The average stress scores across the organization sits at a solid 62 out of 100, which is already above the acceptable threshold. This is also backed very strongly by literature like from Job Demands Resource Model, which also explains us that when the workload increases, it consistently exceeds available resources, burnout is an inevitable outcome of it. So the key takeaway from here is very simple, and that is reducing perceived stress is the single most impactful lever we have currently for reducing voluntary turnover at Australian Outdoors. Now, when we talk about our slide number 7, we will also talk about leadership, because what really our data shows is that management quality is directly tied to whether employees stay or actually go. Our analysis found that satisfaction with a manager is significantly correlated with employee engagement, with the correlation of R equals 0.68. It also negatively correlated with intention to leave at R equals negative 0.61. In plain terms, employees who respect and feel supported by their management or leaders are far more likely to stay and be productive. Those who don't are actively looking for the exit and looking for another job altogether. If we look at the bar chart, you can see manager satisfaction scores broken down by the department. The picture is very concerning across the board. Every single department here falls below the target score of 60 out of 100, which says a lot. But the most alarming figure in this is the logistics, sitting at a very low 44 out of 100. That is a department in crisis from a leadership perspective. When we dug deeper into the qualitative data, three leadership issues came up majorly and also repeatedly. First, obviously, a lack of managerial support. Employees feel unsupported and undervalued. Second, poor communication and transparency. And third, micromanagement and low autonomy, which is, as Daisy and Ryan in 2000 demonstrated, directly suppress intrinsic motivation. The key takeaway again being here is investing in leadership development, especially in logistics, is not optional, but it is very critical to the company. Now, slide number 8 shows us something very important and crucial. This people problem is not staying inside the organization, it is reaching our customers as well. In 2023, Australian Outdoors received 2045 customer complaints, and when we mapped complaint volumes against department level employee satisfaction scores, the pattern is unmistakable. Departments with lower employee satisfaction generate higher number of complaint volumes. Logistics account for almost 33% of all the complaints. That's a 798 complaints from the very department with the lowest manager satisfaction score we just discussed in the previous slide. Customer service follows at 28% and operations at a 23%. The three main complaint themes are delivery delays, product quality issues, and poor complaint handling. Each of these connects directly back to what we are seeing internally. As Baker and De Beres in 2021 explain, disengaged employees are less attentive, less energized, and more prone to errors and absenteeism as well. Again, as employees added themselves in the survey, quality control issues with our products are impacting customer trust. This is the internal problem becoming an external brand problem. The key takeaway being fixing disengagement, particularly in logistics and customer service, is the fastest path to reducing complaints and protecting the Australian outdoors brand. Finally, coming on to slide 9, it asks one very critical question. If we do nothing, what happens next? Based on our data and literature, we can predict the impact across three key stakeholder groups. For our employees, chronic stress will escalate burnout and activism. Then we predict voluntary turnover will rise by an estimated 15 to 20% within next 12 months, according to the Society for Human Resource Management 2022. And as the people leave, the remaining staff carry their heavier workloads, which accelerates disengagement further. For our customers, service quality will continue to decline. Haskett, Sasser, and Wheeler in 2008 also established that the service profit chain, which shows directly that employee well-being drives customer satisfaction. As satisfaction falls, if brand loyalty erodes, and Committee also shows that dissatisfied customers don't just leave quietly. They leave reviews, and those reviews actually spread pretty fast. For the business perspective, for business stakeholders, productivity will fall, turnover cost will climb well beyond the current AUD of $5 million annual exposure estimate, and Australian Outdoors risks losing its premium market position to its competitor. The key takeaway is this: without urgent and targeted interventions, Australian Outdoors faces a compounding crisis across all stakeholder groups. The data is clear, the time to act is now. I will now hand over to my teammate Beru, who will talk you through the recommendations and actions that can actually turn these findings into real change. Over to you, Beru.
Thank you, Simran and Suresh. Now let's talk about recommendations. The first recommendation focus on minimizing employee stress and enhancing their well-being. Both the qualitative and quantitative data determine stress as a main organizational issue. Employees define feeling overwhelmed, unable, and exhausted to maintain a healthy work-life balance. Comments like "I have been feeling overwhelmed and stressed in my job" shows the increasing risk of a burnout across the workforce. The employee also specifically requested more work-life balance. The stress showed turnover intention and the strongest relationship. Australian Outdoors should review workloads, engagement, retention, employee well-being, and productivity. Coming to second recommendation, manager capability and leadership development. It mainly focuses on leadership. Employee feedback shows that important concerns are related to communication, management practices, and support. Many employees report that they feel unsupported, frustrated by micromanagement, and discontinued from leadership. Comments like there is limited support received from management and there is limited communication and transparency from leadership shows how leadership behavior impacts trust and morale. However, positive comments also show up. Supportive leaders increased team performance enhancement and motivation. Leadership coaching, communication training, and emotional intelligence development can help managers become more effective leaders, improving the capability of leadership and will enhance the engagement, create a healthier organization culture, and turnover intentions. Professional development and advancement. Coming to third recommendation, it mainly focuses on career development and growth. Employee feedback shows concern about limited advanced opportunities and insufficient support for professional development. Different employees are showing frustration about limited training, promotions, and career progression pathways. Once an employee shows that they have not gained purposefully support for their development despite showing interest in advanced opportunities, another report that feeling fixed in the role due to limited growth opportunities. These issues can decrease motivation and increase turnover intentions. Australian Outdoors can enhance engagement, workforce capability, and retention while preparing for future leaders. Recommendation for improve client satisfaction. This fourth recommendation's main purpose is to enhance customer experience. Employee feedback and customer complaints underline repeated concerns related to product quality issues, delivery delays, and poor complaint resolution. Employees define difficult customer interaction as occurring due to factors outside their control and showing frustration when complaints are not effectively addressed by management. These findings show the strong relationship between customer outcomes and employee experience. Australian outcome should improve complaint management processes, monitor customer feedback, and enhance quality assurance practices. The organization can enhance customer satisfaction, protect its reputation, improve loyalty, and maintain competitiveness. Let's talk about conclusion. The conclusion shows both employees' voice data and quantitative analysis, showing important challenges impacting the performance of Australian Outdoors. Limited career development opportunities, leadership concerns, high level stress, and increased customer complaints contribute to productivity, engagement, and customer satisfaction. The recommendations provided show evidence based and practice solutions that address the root cause determined throughout the analysis. Australian Outdoors can develop a more positive workplace culture and gain stronger business outcomes by reducing stress, investing in employee development, increasing leadership capability, and enhancing customer experience processes. Investing in organizational and people capability will support resilience success in the long term. Here are the references. Thank you.